Well, the Transformers are back. Maybe because the studio was tired of crapping the bed with the live-action versions, they're animated again. And given the track record of those live-action movies in recent years, maybe this is the format they're best suited for. So I have kind of a love-hate relationship with the Transformers these days. I loved them when I was a kid, loved the toys, loved the cartoons. I'll happily talk all day long about how awesome the Transformers Prime show was. The movies have been a different story. I got 3 films into the Michael Bay series, and then I tapped out. I couldn't take anymore. And I've kind of been steering clear of them since then, even after Bay took his ball and went home. So I didn't have high hopes for Transformers 1 in the first place, and I wasn't super blown away by the trailers either. But surprise, surprise, it's actually pretty good. In fact, in this summer of sequels, reboots, and requels, this might be the best one I've seen. The movie isn't perfect, of course, and like usual, my thoughts are complicated, so let's dive in and talk about the bad stuff first. Serious question here. Why do the Transformers movies absolutely refuse to use the Transformers theme song? The Michael Bay movies never used it, at least before I stopped watching, and it always got under my skin. You have access to one of the most iconic and recognizable theme songs to any IP ever, and you don't want to use it? Makes no sense at all. So when they used the theme song in the trailer for this movie, I got excited, damn it. Hell yeah! Call me a pathetic fanboy if you want, but that theme song was half the reason I wanted to see this thing. And guess what? It's not in the movie. They put it in the trailer just to bait us in, you sons of bitches. Why would you do that? Obviously you had the rights to use it and you knew people would want to hear it, so why leave it out? It's such low-hanging fruit, I don't know why this keeps happening. I'm sorry, but that bugged the hell out of me. Play the damn theme song. What is so hard about this? Complaint number 2, I'm not crazy about the dialogue. Even in the trailers it was obvious, and I knew it was going to be a sticking point for me. These characters aren't written like Transformers from Cybertron, they're written like humans from Earth in the way they talk and interact with each other. And I know the Bay movies really normalized this, but I've never been a fan of it. I think you take something away from the Transformers when you make them act too much like regular people. Yeah, they need to have personality and stuff, but at the end of the day, these are still alien robots, and they don't act like that here.
My finger can transform. Guess which one?
Why are you making an FU joke? How do the Transformers even know what FU means if they don't have genitals? See, that's a joke you'd give to a human character, and there are none of those here, which is kind of the point. And this really becomes an issue when they're injecting so much humor into the movie. I'll just say it, there are too many jokes in this thing. Some of them work, but they only land about half the time, and it's made worse when they keep using modern humor where characters just talk non-stop. I don't know why so many writers these days think that's funny. It gets old really fast, especially when you've got a comic relief character whose only purpose is to be the motor mouth who never shuts up. There's one scene where Bumblebee is gagged because he wouldn't stop talking, and he gets the gag off and starts talking again, and I was like, put the gag back on.
That's Starscream, and you're Shockwave and Soundwave? Enough! Gosh, raise your hand if Wave is in your name. There's a lot of Wave.
Come on, that's not Bumblebee. That's not his character, but he gets the bulk of that stuff, and it felt so overdone. Why do you need so many jokes? Why are you making Shockwave the butt of a joke when he's supposed to be an intimidating villain? And it's annoying because there are jokes that work. There's a scene where another character is chewing out Optimus and yelling at him for dragging her into a tough situation, and that was funny because it was organic and felt like a natural reaction to have in that scene. So there is humor that lands when the writers aren't trying so damn hard, but it seemed like they really wanted to recreate those wacky Michael Bay characters the live-action movies were full of. I was kind of hoping we were moving away from those now, but no dice. It just irritates me, because the movie is easily at its best when it's being serious. That's when it really shines. That's why the jokes stand out so much. You didn't need them in there, not to this extent. There was not enough of one thing and way too much of the other. Complaint number 3, even in a movie comprised entirely of robots, there's somehow still gender politics to deal with. It's not super egregious, but it's in there. Alita 1, the girl Transformer, is like weirdly perfect and way more competent than the dude Transformers, who spend the first half of the movie screwing up a lot. I know Optimus and Megatron need arcs, but it's very noticeable. She even has a line at one point where she tells Optimus, "I'm better than you at everything." That was her giving him a pep talk, actually. But then there's a shift. The movie pivots as Optimus and Megatron become become the characters we know them to be and assume their proper roles. And by the end, we see, okay, that's why Optimus Prime is the leader. That's why Alita follows him and not the other way around. Thank you. So Alita never becomes annoying, and I ended up liking her. She actually had one of my favorite action scenes. It just takes a minute for the characters to get fitted into the positions they're supposed to be in, and before that happens, she comes off as a little try-hard on the part of the writers. Nitpicks aside, and that's really what all that stuff is, nitpicks, there's a lot to like here. For starters, there are no human characters. This was a huge issue with the live-action movies. They kept trying to make them about these pointless, annoying human characters, which sucked because what we wanted to see was the Transformers. So how nice to have a Transformers movie that has no human characters at all and takes place entirely on Cybertron. It's such an obvious thing to do, so it's bizarre that it's never been done until now, at least not theatrically, and it's great. I actually gave a shit about everybody. There's no cutting away from the cool robots because we had to save money on CG or whatever. I didn't miss the humans at all. The movie was better without them. Also, we're in new territory creatively. I think this is the first time we've seen how the Cybertronian War actually began, at least in the movies, so we've got something new to explore here, and we don't have to deal with any continuity that's getting increasingly wonky or wondering where it fits on the timeline in relation to the other movies. There's none of that. And because it's an origin story, we get to spend a lot more time with Optimus and Megatron, find out where they came from and how they went from friends to enemies. I've never seen this before. I think we heard a version of that story in different iterations, but it feels like something new to get a whole movie about this. And it's really nice to learn all this stuff, even though Megatron's transition into a bitter, angry warmonger happens kind of quickly. What's more, the script is very efficient in how it doles out information. In the first scene, they explain to us, this is what we need to do, this is the thing we're trying to find, this is what the conflict of the film is about, this is why all that stuff is important. So within 5 minutes, we've got a good idea of what's going on, so we don't have to waste a lot of time expositing stuff later, and we can just get right to business. And they could have added a few extra scenes to set some things up before we see them in the movie later, but that's a minor gripe. The voice cast is good. If we couldn't have Peter Cullen, then Chris Hemsworth is a great choice for Optimus Prime. The voices do seem a little weird in the beginning, but that was a dialogue issue. Because the characters are written more like humans than Transformers at first, they don't sound quite right, but I think that may have been intentional because this is an origin story, so I guess they're supposed to feel different. Scarlett Johansson was the only one who really made the verbiage sound Transformers-esque from the jump. Everyone else acted like they were voicing human characters. But again, there's a pivot about halfway through where things start to change and more closely resemble the lore we all know. And once Hemsworth gets his feet wet and starts getting more traditional Optimus Prime sounding dialogue, he really nails it. It all clicks into place when he has to give a motivational speech to kind of rally the troops. That's the moment when he really becomes this character. And by the end of the movie, damn it, he sounds like Peter Cullen. Brian Tyree Henry doesn't sound like Frank Welker, so that took some getting used to, but he starts making the part his own once that seething anger and resentment comes out. I could buy him as Megatron by the end. The thing to remember is, the more the movie becomes like a traditional, classic Transformers story with Autobots and Decepticons and whatnot, the better it gets. The dialogue, voice acting, characters, etc. At the beginning of the movie, it's not like that yet. You just have to wait for the pieces to fall into place because the story is about how the Transformers become the Transformers. So the entire film is kind of a prequel to the movie the trailers are advertising. If you understand that going in, I think you'll really enjoy this, because there is a lot of enjoyment to be had. The animation is great, action scenes are epic, especially in the climax with this gigantic citywide battle with hundreds of Transformers. These are some of the best action scenes in the entire franchise, I think. And there's actually some pretty shocking and brutal moments in there too. One in particular that really startled me. Like, holy shit, I can't believe they just did that. And the payoff is definitely worth it. When it all comes together and that big moment arrives when Orion Pax and D16 have become Optimus Prime and Megatron, if these characters mean anything to you, you'll be pumping your fist in the air, maybe getting a little misty-eyed. It's really well done. If Transformers 1 has a problem, it's that it takes takes its time turning into the movie that I wanted to see. And it's a little awkward in the beginning because they try some stuff that felt odd in a setting like this, but it all comes together eventually, and when it starts firing on all cylinders, it's a lot of fun, and has some of the best moments I've seen in any Transformers movie. I like Transformers 1 a lot. Even though the filmmakers did a few things I didn't agree with, it felt like they had a lot of love for this IP, which hasn't typically been the case with the live-action movies, and if the films go more in this direction in the future, there might just be some new life in the Transformers franchise. Just play the goddamn theme song in the sequel, please. For f***'s sake. Thanks so much for watching. While you're here, ding that bell icon and follow my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. The links are down there. And don't forget to do all the other YouTube things by hitting that thumbs up, leaving a comment, sharing the video, subscribing if you haven't already, and making sure you're still subscribed, because what really deserves to have all its energon stolen, forcing it to retreat to the center of the earth to escape a brutal Quintesson invasion force, is the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now. I'll be back with more soon. Take care, stay tuned. I'll see you next time.